Welcome to the Royal Academy of Engineering in the heart of London and to the announcement of the Queen Elizabeth Prize 2015. A very exciting occasion. My name's Kate Bellingham. I am an engineer and an engineering enthusiast, and I don't know who's won. So this is an exciting moment for me as well. I'm joined here by Dr. Rhys Morgan, who is, I better get this right, the Director of Engineering and Education here at the Royal Academy of Engineering. So, we are here for the announcement of the Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering. Just to remind you, this is a global prize that is awarded every 2 years to an engineer or team of engineers responsible for a groundbreaking innovation that has benefited humanity. So, Rhys, this isn't about spotting future innovation.
Absolutely not. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Kate. It's lovely to be here with you today. Very exciting.
Hello, Rhys, yes.
It's a very, very exciting day for us here. You're right. It's about recognising engineering innovations that have already contributed significantly to humanity and will do for many years to come. And the previous winners, the Internet, the pioneers of the Internet and the World Wide Web, are a perfect example of that.
What's great about this is sometimes we don't connect engineering with the people, the engineers who've actually done the work. And this is a wonderful opportunity to really celebrate those people and their achievements.
Yes, you're absolutely right. This is about engineers, not just engineering, but engineers, the people, the real people who are actually the people who change the world around us. So it's a fantastic prize.
So, yeah, the prize, they don't just get us saying, you're great and well done, they get a prize. Tell me about that.
They do. So, well, first and foremost, the acclaim of having the preeminent global engineering prize. I mean, that is phenomenal in itself. Then there's a small matter of £1 million prize money. But not only that, they get this marvellous trophy here, which has been designed by Ewan Fairholme, an engineering student from Edinburgh. Now, Ewan beat hundreds and thousands of entries to win the QEPrize Create the Trophy competition last year. And each time there's a prize, there'll be a new trophy that's designed by a young person for the prize winners.
Of course, this is the second time the prize has been awarded. And what's been interesting for me, Rhys, is, yes, it's been wonderful to have the prize to talk about, but it's not just been an announcement handing over the money and then you wait another 2 years. There's been a lot of activity associated with the Queen Elizabeth Prize that's been promoting and supporting engineering in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the main benefits of the prize is to put engineering on a global platform along with the Nobel Prizes in science and economics and all the other different things and the Fields Medal in maths. So this is a real opportunity to celebrate engineers and engineering right across the world. It is a global prize. We must remember that.
Yeah, and involving a range of people, not just the celebrated engineers themselves, getting young people involved, for example, in the design of the trophy. There are Queen Elizabeth Prize ambassadors who are young engineers going out and talking about it. And our hashtag, if you want to follow what people are saying, our hashtag is hashtag QEPrize 2015. There's also hashtag Create the Future, which is an interesting one to look at. So we're going to be talking to a few people as we run up to the actual announcement itself. But first of all, let's remind ourselves about the winners of the very first Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering, which was in 2013. We'll see you all shortly.
We've chosen the creation of the Internet and the World Wide Web, and 5 individuals who each have played key roles in the creation and propagation of this technology around the world.
You know, they were big thinkers. They wanted to create a system that really improved things, allowed for creativity, and each built on the next to where we went from a network to a World Wide Web over the Internet.
What's wonderful about this group is that it covers everything from the fundamental protocols, from the envisioning of the Internet, all the way through to how it's used by people.
My dream scenario would be that every time someone logs onto the web, opens a web browser and does something which gives them a bit of information or even perhaps changes their life, I want them to associate that with engineers.
Well, one of the judges of the QEPrize is none other than Professor Brian Cox, as you saw on the film, and here he is in real life. Brian, welcome. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
So just a reminder, you are live on broadcast to the world right now, so whatever you do, do not mention the prize winners prematurely.
I'm not going to do the big brother thing. Please do not swear.
Well, don't do that either. So the first thing I want to say is you're a physicist, you're an interloper. What are you doing here?
Well, I use engineering and have done throughout my whole career. So I work at the Large Hadron Collider. How did that get built? It got built by engineers. So I think that to try and separate engineering from actually anything, not only science, but anything we do in society, is impossible. It's not correct. So that's one of the messages of the prize, actually. The message of the prize is to say, well, you might think that engineering is something to do with steam engines and Brunel, which is good, not to denigrate Brunel in any sense at all. But it's more than that. It's, as we saw in the prize 2 years ago, it's software engineering. Every time you use a web browser, you use engineering. It's medical engineering. So every time you go for medical treatment, you're using engineering. And of course, it's mobile phones and communications and aircraft, and everything you take for granted. So I think that science and engineering are not to be separated. In my view.
I know. I'm just teasing you, really. But this is a global prize, and we must remember this international dimension. And you've obviously judged entries from across the world. So can you give us a kind of a taste of why this prize is so important?
Well, I think it's important from a UK perspective because we're in the UK, so we're fortunate to have this prize here. It's like the impact of the Nobel Prize in Sweden. It's not a Swedish prize, it's a global prize, but it happens to be there. Globally, then, I think it should point, for me, the important thing about the QEPrize is it's not only to reward the engineers, it's not really to reward the engineers, actually. Their reward is in having created something that's made an impact on humanity. The benefit is to say, this is engineering, this is what engineering, this is why if you're a young person at school, you're a student, this is why you might want to be an engineer. What are you interested in? Are you interested in software? Are you interested in hardware? Are you interested in building spacecraft? Are you interested in medical research? Whatever it is, you can be an engineer in this area, so that's important. I also think it's important for taxpayers in countries like ours to say, well, this is how we need to support engineering. This is how we need to support training. So we want to inspire young people. We also want to inspire the governments of the world, actually, to invest in training and support and the infrastructure that engineering needs to flourish.
That's absolutely right. And, there are some critical grand challenges facing the globe, the humanity, coming up in the next 10, 20, 50 years. And engineers will be a fundamental part of solving those problems, won't they?
It's always been the case that engineering has been the basis of modern civilization, obviously. Everything we do, from increased life expectancy, decreased child mortality in the medical area, all the way through to transatlantic flights, the web, anything you can think of, it rests on engineers at some point in that chain, from either the initial invention, the innovation, all the way through to taking those things to market and making them available to billions of people across the world. It's engineering.
Thank you very much, Brian. It's been very lovely talking to you. We're going to join Kate now, who is talking to Jürgen Meyer, the UK Chief Executive of Siemens. Kate.
Thanks very much indeed, Rhys. So, Jürgen, lovely to see you. Why is Siemens a sponsor, a donor to this prize?
Yeah, well, great to see you again, Kate, also. And, well, why are we a donor and want to be part of this? It's because we're an innovation and we're a science company. As a matter of fact, our founder, Sir William Siemens, he did all of his innovating here in Britain over 170 years ago. And he inspired people in Britain, across the globe, into engineering and into science. And maybe as part of this QEPrize, we're going to find the next Sir William Siemens, who can inspire people and get more people enthused about engineering and science. And that's why we want to be part of it.
Do you think it's an issue that if people are asked, who do you see as a famous engineer, they tend to think of people who are dead, really, don't they? They don't see it as a living thing, and this gives us an opportunity to show how much a living thing it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, we do with this need to give engineering a new and a modern image. I don't think there's anything wrong with, looking back at some of our great innovators, the Brunels of this world. But, today, the things we do in engineering, whether that's to do with computer sciences or whether it's to do with building mobile phones or iPads or software, that's all engineering skills involved with that. And that's the sort of people we're looking to infuse.
Now, this is a global prize. How important do you think it is that we have a prize that is a truly global one?
Well, we live in a truly global world, and whilst Britain is brilliant at engineering and science, we can't have all the knowledge here, and we know that the best way to do the best things is to collaborate globally. So this is all about finding the best of what's out there, and then Britain making sure we join in, we collaborate, and together we create the best of engineering and innovation.
I'm really excited about this, So this engineer or team of engineers is going to be announced within minutes. And obviously the judges have been working very hard to decide who should get the prize this year. But it's giving the prize to either an individual or a team of engineers. How difficult do you think it is to pin it down to just one area?
It must be unbelievably difficult. And, only Professor Brian Cox and the panel know who it is. And, it's going to be so exciting. I really can't wait to see who it is and who it is that is going to have inspired the judges and to be getting this year's award.
And of course, I know that you're very passionate about inspiring the engineers of the future. It's an opportunity to be able to inspire the engineers of the future as well, isn't it?
Yeah, at the end of the day, that is what it's all about. And therefore, it's also great at this event to have a lot of our young people. So I've brought along some of our young people from within Siemens, some of our young engineers, some of our young people in R&D. And I can tell you, they got here at 8 o'clock this morning, 2 hours before it starts, because they were so excited to be part of it. So, you can see how already this sort of thing is working to inspire young people, which is just tremendous.
Jürgen, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We're now going to have a short film from another of the donor companies, and it features a young engineer, a young inspiring engineer from BAE Systems, who is a Queen Elizabeth Prize ambassador. It's Christina Dines.
I looked at what BAE did, I watched Top Gun, planes are awesome, so I thought, I could do that, that's really awesome. And I think about what I do today, and I work on circuits, I work on things like helmets and planes, and I think this is really cool. And I guess that's one thing I really wanted to do for a job, is something that I didn't see as a job, that's something I just did to get paid. I needed to do something awesome. I'm an engineer.
Well, I've now been joined by Lord Browers, who's chairman of the judging panel. Lovely to see you. How was that job, being chairman of the judging panel?
Difficult, but utterly fascinating. I mean, we had a spectacular team of judges. Judges from all over the world, top engineers from Japan, from China, from Singapore, from India, from the United States, from Germany, and of course from Britain. And they were a very strong team, completely engaged, and all with the same enthusiasm for the aims of the project, because every country in the world is trying to stimulate young people into engineering.
Now, you were the judge for the inaugural prize. You've been the judge for this prize. Are we going to be seeing you again?
No, you're not. I'm going to hand it over to Chris Snowden. I mean, it's been an utterly fascinating job, but I believe in these things that we move things along. But it has been a challenge because we had to start with the entire world of engineering. So how on earth do you come up with something there? Well, we came up with the internet. Now, this year we've come up with something quite different.
Don't tell me.
I'm not going to tell you. Don't worry. I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to say it's going to be quite different. Okay. And for the years ahead, for several years, it's going to be utterly different before one will come around to a similar thing again.
But I think you and all the judges must feel really quite proud that you've made a contribution to the legacy of engineering and the status of engineering, because we've now got an acclaimed international prize that recognises something that we engineers have always felt was important, but now we can show it to the whole world.
Yes, well, I agree with that 100%. And one of the main aims of this prize is just to illustrate to people the breadth of engineering and the excitement of it and how it changes people's lives, every single aspect of their lives. And so that's been a great privilege to be involved with this prize.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for all that you've done for the QEPrize. It's been great to hear from you, and very well done not revealing anything about who has won.
No, my lips are absolutely sealed.
Now, I do have to check. Next, we've got the opportunity to hear from Roma Agrawal, who is a structural engineer. I'm just checking. Maybe we're out of time for that. Oh, my word, we've got ahead of ourselves. We're now going to be going into the room where the announcement is going to be made. We've been joined by His Royal Highness the Duke of York, who is going to be present while the announcement is made. The Duke of York, of course, a great supporter of science, technology and engineering, and promoting those opportunities to young people through the various patronages of organisations here in the UK and supporting around the world. So I will be talking to you later, catching you later with Rhys Morgan. In the meantime, enjoy the announcement. Thank you very much.
Engineers are the poets of the practical world.
The Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering will recognize advances in engineering that have changed the world. The prize will be awarded to an individual or team of up to 3 people responsible for a groundbreaking innovation in engineering that has had an impact on humanity. As we search for the winner, we will discover and celebrate the untold stories of engineering success and the people behind them. And we will inspire a new generation of engineers to take up the challenges of the future.
Engineering is for humanity, and that is the bottom line.
This is recognition of engineers globally, the equivalent to the Nobel Prize in Science, but this is recognising engineers which have been far too long forgotten.
Engineers change the world in which we live. This prize can make people understand why it's so important.
Engineers are the real revolutionaries, the ones who take society forward, who create the technologies and the structures which carry us into new worlds. They're the ones who will find the ways to overcome climate change, to answer challenges and create new industries, ones that haven't even been thought of yet. That's why we need this prize to urge people on, to encourage daring, open minds to new possibilities. So now with this new prize, open to the world, let us, in this generation, go on to stimulate a new generation of engineering genius.
Please welcome to the stage the President of the Royal Academy of Engineering and a trustee of the Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering Foundation, Professor Dame Anne Dowling.
Your Royal Highness, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me the greatest pleasure to welcome you here today for the announcement of the next winner of the Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering. This £1 million global prize is awarded every 2 years. The first prize was awarded in 2013 to the 5 outstanding engineers who created the Internet and the World Wide Web. The Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering recognises outstanding advances in engineering that have been of global benefit to humanity and celebrates those that are responsible for these innovations. From powered prosthetics to space software, from microchips to mega constructions, nominations were welcome in any field of engineering, featuring engineers of any nation. It's often said that engineering is part of our everyday lives. But we need to change that narrative to show the extraordinary engineering achievements that make remarkable differences to our lives. The QEPrize will help us achieve that. Let's hear from some engineers about what engineering means to them.
The thing I most liked was following my dad around as he repaired the house. I felt that that was normal, that was natural, that's what you did, you repaired things.
I had a Barbie house which I actually built myself, so maybe that was a bit of an indication.
When I was growing up, nothing in the house was safe. I think if I could reach it and try and take it apart, I'd find a way to.
The engineers, to me, are the people that make the magic happen and the things that I have been involved in. Right back in the dawn of time when we started lastminute.com, the engineers, the coders, the technical developers were the people who made the product come alive.
Being able to work on so many different projects, from looking at how cricket balls bounce and creating the perfect cricket pitch, looking at designing bobsleds, looking at how shoes interact with the ground, how to design the perfect football boot. So many different projects across so many different sports using so many different types of engineering.
You just have to keep reminding people that you wouldn't have a camera without engineering, you wouldn't have a pen without engineering to tell stories, you wouldn't have communication without engineering. It is just a part of everything around us.
When I see the top of the shard, it really is such a rewarding feeling knowing that I played a part in its design.
One of the projects we're working on at the moment is to try and create a wearable exoskeleton, so not a piece of robotics that sits on top of you, but a piece of underwear that goes underneath your clothes and helps you walk. Exactly fits you, printed for you, helps you with the joints that you need help with, but at the same time you look completely normal.
I went to a conference last year to encourage girls to read engineering at university. After my talk, one girl came up to me and said to me, I was going to be a doctor, but I realized if I become an engineer, I can become a doctor for the world.
If you feel that you are natural around problem solving, being very analytical, being creative, then explore the world of engineering.
The idea of making things and helping people and changing the world, you know, why wouldn't that be appealing?
It gives you the opportunity to invent.
And it's taking the scientific base and making it into the world, and that's how you create, you know, something really wonderful, something really incredible.
We are very honoured to have His Royal Highness, the Duke of York, here today, representing Her Majesty the Queen. And I'd now like to invite His Royal Highness to say a few words.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an enormous pleasure to be here today, especially representing Her Majesty. I've said, along with a number of people in this room, that the UK is the best place to do science and engineering. And where I come from, and my passion is looking to see how we can encourage and inspire young people to take up the challenge that us old people have held, because now is the time to really encourage young people to take up the challenge of engineering. And it is across so many different areas that it is really, really important to encourage those young people. And this prize is absolutely critical as a part of that fabric of engineering. I've not come here to say very much, and I can just quote from the current article that my father has written in the current issue of The New Scientist. And I'm just going to read an excerpt because I think it encapsulates what we are trying to achieve. Engineering is not just a profession to be learned and practiced as a way of making a living. It is one of the few ways in which human talent can be given the chance to improve and frequently to transform the comfort and prosperity of the human community. In fact, engineering has made a greater positive difference to human life than almost any other human endeavour. And I believe that, like many engineers, I have been inspired by my father as well. And I think that this is something that young people can aspire to in the future. It's a great pleasure to be able to join you today. Thank you very much.
Your Royal Highness, thank you for those words. I'm delighted to say that it was through the Academy and the QEPrize that the Duke of York first met none other than will.i.am, who has since become an ambassador for the Duke's exciting new initiative to equip young people with digital skills ready to launch their own businesses. Your Royal Highness, you've been a true beacon as an ambassador for UK trade and enterprise around the world. And on behalf of the engineering community, who you have promoted so strongly, I would like you to know how much we value your work. Now, please welcome to the stage Chairman of the Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering Foundation, Lord Brown.
Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, great feats of engineering have transformed the world around us. The buildings in which we live and work, the cars we drive, the phones we use, and the way we keep healthy are all products of great engineering minds. Throughout history, engineers have designed solutions to the world's most troubling problems. Today, we can provide enough energy to heat or cool a house for little more than the price of a loaf of bread. We can connect with people on the other side of the world, face to face at the click of a button. And through imaging systems that show us the inner workings of our bodies, we can use specific treatments to target specific diseases. But the success needed to overcome humanity's greatest challenges is not guaranteed. Excellent solutions are not inevitable. It takes engineers with great imagination, seeking to turn the impossible into the possible through innovation and design. And it takes great new engineers, new generations of engineers with creativity and tenacity, inspired by those who've gone before them. The Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering is about recognising and rewarding excellence. Excellent work with a global benefit to humanity. The prize aims to raise the aspirations of today's engineers and to inspire the engineers of tomorrow. On behalf of the Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering Foundation, I want to thank Lord Browers and his distinguished panel of international judges for their dedication in selecting this year's winner. I also want to thank our generous donors, BAE Systems, GSK, Jaguar, Land Rover, Shell, Tata, Toshiba, BG, National Grid, Siemens, Tata, BP, Nissan and Sony. Each of them relies on thousands of talented engineers in their daily operations and is witness to the revolutionary power of engineering around the world. Great feats of engineering come from exceptional talents of a team of people. But just occasionally, there is just one person who makes an outstanding contribution. And that brings me to this year's winner. He is an extraordinarily talented engineer with incredible determination and vision. His work has transformed the lives of billions of people across the globe. Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, for his work in controlled release, large molecule drug delivery, the winner of the Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering for 2015 is Dr. Robert Langer. Very good. Now, before I invite Bob Langer to speak, let's hear from the Queen Elizabeth Prize judges about the reasons for their choice.
One of the reasons that the QEPrize was founded was to make clear the contribution of engineering to everybody's lives. And that's one of the key things. We give the prize not to areas of potential or engineers who may be great in the future, but engineers who've already done something that's demonstrably changed, in this case, millions of lives.
The Queen Elizabeth Prize is the most important prize, the most influential prize in the world for engineering.
I think putting the spotlight on this particular area will be a surprise for some people, but for those of us in engineering, we know that this is exactly what we're after.
Improving the lives of others. I consider that to be the most important quality of an engineer.
Dr. Robert Langer of MIT has won this year's Queen Elizabeth Prize.
Bob was a pioneer in the development of controlled drug release.
He, as an engineer, developed an engineering solution to a medical problem.
He's helped to create a new field that didn't exist before.
And this kind of application is particularly important for diseases like cancer, various forms of mental illness, where you want to release a drug over an extended period of time in very small amounts.
Hundreds of millions of people here across the world benefit from the technologies that rest on the work of Robert Langer.
I love being an engineer. It brings a sense of accomplishment, a sense of pride in what we can do to help people.
Many young people are interested in engineering, but they want to work on problems that improve the human condition. Well, Bob is a model of somebody who's done that, and I think that's a great way to inspire young people about what engineering can do.
Thank you so much. I'm tremendously honored. Prince Philip recently wrote that engineering has made a greater positive difference in human life than almost any other human endeavor. I feel so proud and privileged to receive the Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering. It's the largest engineering prize in the world, and a prize that aims to inspire young engineers throughout the world to participate in this great endeavor. I certainly would not be here today without having had such a wonderful research group, both in the past and right now, without having had such a loving and supportive wife, Laura, and wonderful family. And I just feel so fortunate to have had such great colleagues and people to work with, and really am honored and very humbled to receive this magnificent award today. Thank you very, very much. Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Lang is going to be interviewed by many members of the press, but this job gives me the opportunity to ask at least a few questions of a very distinguished man who made some extraordinarily interesting choices early in his career. We're about the same age, and I'm by no means a distinguished engineer as Bob is, but I decided to join the oil industry. Meanwhile, this man I think was asked to join almost every single oil company in the entire world, with one exception, and that's the company I joined. They didn't have the creativity to ask him to join. And the company that did ask you to join asked you to do something which you decided was simply too trivial to change humanity. So my first question, Bob, is who inspired you to actually do what you did?
Well, I think when I got started, I suppose my parents, in a way. I mean, I learned, I had a chemistry set when I was a little boy, and I really enjoyed, mixing chemicals together and making chemical reactions and seeing things like that. And I think my dad and mom always, they kind of encouraged me. My mom was like a really nice person, and they encouraged me to do nice things. I mean, it was probably early on those things had a big influence on what I did.
And your engineering crosses all sorts of boundaries, as indeed the last prize winners did. They crossed boundaries. What made you think that actually was something which was legitimate for an engineer to do? And what gave you the idea to do just that?
Well, I'd like to say I had this, grand vision when I was young. I didn't. I just kind of wanted to do something I felt was important that would have a big impact. And as you pointed out, I wasn't that excited about working in the oil industry, but I didn't get the opportunity to work with British Petroleum. But I was trying to think, how could I use my chemical engineering background to help people, and I was drawn eventually to the medical area. And to do the kinds of things that I wanted to do, I just needed to learn all these different things. I needed to learn something about medicine, about biology, about materials, and about, various other kinds of things that related to engineering.
And what do you think now? What is the next big challenge for you? What is the next big thing?
Well, I think there's a lot of big challenges. I mean, there's a couple that I'm particularly excited about. One is this area of nanotechnology to try to deliver new kinds of genetic medicines to cells. I think those are some of the medicines of the future, but delivery challenges are really important to enabling those to happen. And a second big area that I'm very excited about is regenerative medicine, combining materials and cells to someday create new tissues and organs.
Good. Bob, thank you very much again. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to close by thanking our sponsors again and our judges for their support. It's tremendous, and without you, we couldn't do what we're doing. And also to thank His Royal Highness for being here, and all of you to give us the opportunity this morning to announce the winner of the 2015 Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, we're adjourned. Thank you very much for coming. I think we can go back.
What happens next is that people moving through to the press room, and there are going to be the opportunities to interview the winner, Dr. Robert Langer-Rees. Give me your response.
What an exciting announcement. I have to say, it's a fabulous decision. It just epitomises everything that all the guests were saying this morning about the role of engineering, not just in bridges and cars, but across the whole of humanity. And the life sciences and medicine is the perfect thing to demonstrate that role of engineering across the world.
Oh, and what a wonderful connection there, the interdisciplinary, the fact that it's in medicine as well. Are we a bit closer? Do you want us a little bit? Can you see us okay? We're fine. Okay, it's quite busy here with all these people moving around. Now, in your position as being a Director of Engineering and Education, how are you going to find this in terms of an opportunity to promote engineering in its broadest sense?
Oh, it's just wonderful. It's wonderful. It just gives us an opportunity to bring in the sciences that we wouldn't normally consider to do with engineering. So I can already envisage lots of work streams around biology and engineering and materials and engineering and bringing things together that young people wouldn't normally associate with engineering. Very, very exciting few years ahead for us.
And I really liked in the clips that we saw before, one of the engineers mentioned she'd done a talk, and somebody else came up at the end and said, I had thought of being a doctor, but if I'm an engineer, I can be a doctor for the whole world. And that absolutely epitomises what this award is this year.
Absolutely. I've always said that, after a natural disaster, one engineer is worth 100 doctors, because there's not that we
don't discourage people from doctors, but just remember engineers.
So it's wonderful. I think it will just give young people a sense that if they're interested in medicine, there are alternatives to just being a doctor, and it's very, very exciting.
Well, there's certainly a lot of excitement here. There's really quite a buzz, I have to say, here. If you want to follow what's going on Twitter, hashtag QEPrize 2015. On the website, there's going to be lots more stuff coming through on the website. But I think probably we can go off and find out more about what's going on. That's probably time for us to wind up.
Indeed. It's been a really brilliant morning, and I hope people across the world have been watching and are as thrilled and excited as we are here today.
It's been absolutely lovely to share it with you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Goodbye.